Alright, we're back on the America server this time, where I can once again show off my rank 50 chicken. And it's Ryuzak versus Dinover. Dinover, I believe, I'm just gonna pronounce the name like that. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. We should really ask people for their name pronunciation before we accept them to the tournament. But Dinover, a bit of a newcomer. Ryuzak has been around for a little longer. And Ryuzak is also a Nitro booster of our Discord server, which you can join, link in the description. And the decks that they're bringing are... One second, hitting the spectate. Ryuzak is bringing Dragon Druid, which is his starting deck right now. Dinover on the Galakrond Aggro Warrior. Ryuzak also bringing the Highlander Warrior and a Galakrond Rogue, with his Highlander Hunter being banned. Dinover bringing Face Hunter, Galakrond Quest Shaman as well, and Galakrond Zoo Warlock, which is also banned. Starting up with a Town Crier here for the Aggro Warrior. And it appears that we have Ryuzak here with the option to play the Conning Out the Breath of Dreams if he so desires. Or Fire Tree Witch Doctor. So has to go for the Breath, drawing a card, and way more importantly getting a Mana Gem, which gets him already ramped ahead. Ritual Chopper drawn seems like a good play on turn 2. So we're gonna see the aggro deck doing the aggro thing, pushing damage into the face right away. Not even wanting that Dragon Druid to get started, which is kind of what you're going for. You're arguably the more aggressive deck here. And so you're trying to push damage early, trying to win the game that way. Turn being ended, finally. The Scale Rider drawn seems like a solid solution for this board. It's not the strongest thing you could have killed with it necessarily, but it just overall very solid. I guess we're just gonna see another Town Crier, and then I don't think there's any 2-drop rush minions, so it's just gonna be Hero Power as a follow-up. We might see the Ritual Chopper hit the face for good measure. We might not. It's one of those where, do you keep it up, do you not keep it up? It really doesn't matter that much. He decides to hit it in the minion, which is arguably a rather interesting choice. Nothing wrong with it, but maybe not the usual choice you'd expect. And Fire Tree Witch Doctor coming down. Hidden Oasis seems like a very solid pick against aggro, although Pounce would have been something to maybe deal with some minions. Scale Rider going face, Hero Power also going face, so playing this very aggressively is Ryuzak. And I think we're just gonna see the Devoted Maniac coming down to take out the Scale Rider. And then maybe running face into the Witch Doctor seems like a solid idea. Sign of Ruin now activated as well for the next turns, as well as, of course, the Galakrond being at his second tier. Galakrond the Apocalypse, meaning that he can now draw 2 cards with him. Of course, you'd prefer to have him at the final tier for that extra 5/2 claw weapon, which is really strong. And we already see Ryuzak like getting that Hidden Oasis available next turn, which is gonna slow the aggro deck down a lot. We might just see Sign of Ruin come down here for the stats on the board, although of course you're not gonna get much out of it. You could also play the Evil Quartermaster for the Lackey and play the Lackey as well then, which, depending on what the Lackey is, seems like a stronger choice, but that's just the thing, right? You don't know what Lackey you're gonna get. But I guess worst case scenario, you can still Hero Power if you don't like the Lackey. Ethereal is decent, but you're not expecting anything you can play this turn, so he decides to go for the Armor. Of course, one you're looking for arguably is probably... I guess Witchy is decent, but you're probably looking for Faceless. We see Discovery go for the big old whelp for the draw. And now Scion, of course, has something he can take out very efficiently. Once again, Witchy Lackey would have been somewhat solid here, but probably still very good to just take out the Taunt, push some damage. Maybe play the Lackey now. Ooh, decides to keep the slightly more aggressive stats on the board in favor of losing that one attack there. Not sure if I agree with that, but it's one of those personal choice things. You don't have to do it, but you can. Mortal Strike seems okay. Ramming Speed is more of a control option, but with a lot of big minions potentially coming down. Still a very solid one. Crowd Roaster active. And the card drawn there was another Scale Rider. Wrath deals very nicely with the Lackey and draws a card. Of course, we now have the issue once again of big hands not being displayed very well in the in double spectating mode. But we see the Sarah picked up here, very recognizable, especially during the pickup. You can of course see the card. Side of Ruin would trade reasonably well with the one Scale Rider and leave some extra bodies on the board. You could play your Acolyte and Armor Smith on top, well, or Armor Smith on top of it, and it seems like he's going for the Acolyte. Armor Smith, of course, having the option that he's gonna take that extra point of armor, which he seems to go for, and yeah, just 1 point of damage to the face. Both players relatively even right now. Of course, now the impact plays are coming up for Ryuzak. The Scale Height drawn there, and Twin Tyrant very strong. Takes out 2 things, giving some armor in the process, but he's not really that worried about that, I would argue. Shield of Galakrond, strong pickup. Protects your board a little bit from the Twin Tyrant, which only has 4 attacks, so it can't kill anything. So you probably just play the Acolyte over top of it and just hit the face. Not really the strongest board presence, but you know, you just gotta kind of deal with what you got here. And I would expect everything to go face here, because you can take out the Twin Tyrant, and also you're not really too worried about it, I'd argue. Of course, the Crowd Roaster will take out the Taunt, and then the Twin Tyrant can still take out things, but if you are the Nowhere, you can't really plan around that too well. Twilight Drake picked up right here. Remind me again, one of those 2-drops. Those are Dragon Breeders, fair enough. So more Twin Tyrants if desired. Scale Height taking it out just as well as the Crowd Roaster would. I might prefer the Crowd Roaster unless you want to pick up another Twin Tyrant with the Dragon Breeder. Because I guess you could have, yeah, I guess even then you could have done it. So unless you played Dragon Breeder and Bees, I would have preferred Crowd Roaster here, because that stays on the board. You're not going to have to deal necessarily with anything that has 7 health. Maybe something that comes off the Galakrond, but I would argue that in this matchup you could have used that a little more liberally. Ramming Speed being considered here. Whirlwind taking out the Bees very nicely, of course. Not too much else to proc off of, but you get the extra Battle Rage bonus as well. Kronk's drawn might be a reason to play Galakrond a little early if you can't find another Invoke next turn, because then you could play Kronk's the turn after the Galakrond for his devastation. I assume Lance might take out the Dragon Breeder here. And then the question is, what Lackey are we gonna get? And it appears to be Ethereal Lackey, which gives him another spell. Oh boy. Picks up the Scheme. Very intriguing choice. I can't say I hate it. It will be good eventually. The question is just, is that really what you want? You are arguably the more aggressive build of the Galakrond Warrior, so maybe the extra armor isn't exactly what you're concerned about, but maybe if you can buy your turn somewhere. I would have probably gone for a draw there with the Rocket Boots, but, you know. And Ramming Speed not really doing too much here. Yeah, they're gonna deal 4 damage to each other, whatever, right? So I personally like the more proactive play of maybe just playing Galakrond right here. You draw 2 very big minions, and then also you can play the Kronks next turn, which could be damage, it could be removal, it could be stats. Oh my god, the Leroy. You can play the Acolyte right now, get a big minion on the board. It takes 2 hits to kill it, which would be extra draws. And now just go face with everything, why not? And just hope that you can win it next turn. And if you can't, of course, play Krongs for the taunt, Dragon, or even for the face damage maybe. And then see what can piece together. Crowd Roaster now, of course, being a very solid choice to take out the Acolyte here. Decides to go for the big old whelp for the draw. Bee's not necessarily what you want to hit into that Acolyte, although maybe you do. That's actually a very underrated choice here, because if we look at it, we have 8 cards on the hand. So Bees could have actually been used to burn some cards here, not necessarily too worrying for an aggro deck, of course, but still an interesting choice. We see the hover over of Leroy there, and if we look at it, that is 17 damage between Leroy and the board. That makes it 20 with the hero power. Awakened Bloodsworn Mercenary doesn't quite fit mana-wise for Leroy, which is unfortunate. If there was a cheaper way to damage it, that would be great. Like, say, a Cruel Taskmaster or an Inner Rage, but he doesn't have that right now. So, little unfortunate in that regard. I think you just play Krongs here. Maybe just drain him for 5, like with the Decimation. Domination is possible. Reanimation also is. Annihilation, of course, is not necessarily what you're looking at right now. The other 3 are actually legitimate options, all of them. Goes for the buff. And now the question is, if you go face everything, are you maybe risking dying next turn? So, I mean, the timer, the rope ran out. I might have liked taunting up one of the bigger minions with a Titanic Lackey to protect yourself a little bit, but that's not the route he went. Maybe it's because of the timer. Can't really judge that perfectly. Hinoise is coming down for healing. 12 healing seems very big again in this matchup. That being said, of course, the 10 on hand from the Leroy plus, if the Acolyte lives, that's another 14 with the, actually no it's not, because it doesn't have charge. I was about to say with the Bloodsworn Mercenary. But yeah, we have 17 guaranteed damage here, plus 3 from the hero power, which is 20 damage, which is 3 shy of lethal. Quartermaster doesn't help with it. Inner Rage does, however, and that is lethal. Leroy, Inner Rage, Bloodsworn Mercenary. That is 24 points of damage just from that. That's 24 points of damage from hand. And he could have dealt 2 more with the hero power, and he still had board. So that is one crazy lethal right there. Now, of course, that's kind of in a little bit of a way how the deck is built. We know that the Aggro Warrior is now eliminated, meaning that nowhere has to go for Face Hunter, which is a very similar playstyle, or the Galakrond Quest Shaman, which is a very different playstyle. And Ryuzak either going back to the Dragon Druid or picking between his Highlander Warrior and his Galakrond Rogue. All 3 of which aren't the most aggressive decks, which in theory means that they're kind of built in a way to contain aggro, oftentimes, the slower decks, the Warrior in particular. But the question is now, what do you expect to face? Because it's kind of 50-50 between the slower, methodical Quest Shaman and the very aggressive Face Hunter, so gotta make your choice there. Alright, let's see what they went for here. So Ryuzak going back to the Druid and facing the Face Hunter, which in theory looks like it might go a very similar route to the Aggro Warrior, not quite as explosive in individual turns, but overall rather similar playstyle. We see the Nowhere dropping most of everything, so does Ryuzak. A lot of options for turn 1. You're not going to play Timberwolf on 1 usually, but Battle Mage and Toxic Reinforcements, both very valid choices. Decides to go with the Reinforcements here, planning to hero power a lot, like you do as Face Hunter. And it seems that Ryuzak has a little bit of an unfortunate case there with his hand that all of his 2-drops are reliant on him having a dragon. We'll see if he draws one. Meanwhile, we're deciding to actually fish with tracking here, which I disagree with. I think if you coin, you probably coin the Battle Mage for a little extra tempo. And Ryuzak resorting to the hero power, knowing that he can't get any value out of his cards because he doesn't currently hold a dragon. Hero power coming down from the nowhere, very solid of course. You want that quest to be progressed, and there's the dragon drawn, very important. And I think we're just going to see another breath here, that's what we did last time, and it seems to be the right choice, because you get ahead of course by ramping, but also maybe the Fire Tree Witch Doctor having something on the board to contest with your opponent's shenanigans. We see Battle Mage hero power here, not very unexpected. Just pushing as much damage as possible, as fast as possible. And we just might see both the Breath and the Witch Doctor coming down, or maybe we'll see a draw with Ferocious Howl as well. Bees also actually seems like a solid option. Oh, Reinforcements is interesting. Because you can give the 2 health to the Witch Doctor right now, so you can trade up next turn. Or summon the 2/2 with more or less the same result. Either way, after a trade, a 2/2 stays on the board. Plus 2 health is arguably more resistant to certain effects. Also, the taunt is very good. So you don't really see that one too often because usually you'll see it in token and they'll just go for the whiteboard. But of course, in Dragon Druid, not as much of a concern. We'll see Arcane Shot and a trade. And then it's the hero power. The question is, will we see Timberwolf? It doesn't really help with the current board too much, but it would just be another body on the board, and playing it aggressively is kind of what you do, but also very susceptible to cards like Swipe, of course. And Ryuzak already at 7 mana very early on because of all the ramp. Twilight Drake seemed like a solid choice, but he decides to go for the Emerald Explorer. Twin Tyrant and Dragonmaw Scorcher, both very good control options here, decides to go for the Tyrant. Phase Stalker. Very interesting, we'll probably see it played with the hero power, maybe hoping for a Freezing Trap to deal with that dragon, at least temporarily. But ultimately, of course, you'd kill it somehow, but 8 health on a taunt is pretty tough to deal with. We'll see the Stalker come down, hero power pressed right after. And let's see what the secret is. The secret is Explosive. Not exactly what you're looking for, maybe, but also has the advantage of actually, if it deals with it, permanently dealing with it. Now, Dragon Breeder has the solid option to pick up another Emerald Explorer, another big taunt, also another piece, of course, in the value engine, getting more cards on the hand, not running out of cards, basically ever. Twin Tyrant, solid choice. Ysera, probably the highest value choice. Deathwing seems kind of counterintuitive. And it appears that we're going to just see a Snake Trap come down, maybe Unleash. If you do play Unleash, it's actually, you might actually consider Kill Commanding as well, which, you could, there's basically 2 trains of thought right now if you're Ryuzak. One of which is just try pushing as much damage as you can to the face and just kind of ignoring the taunts, and the other one is finding a way to deal with the taunts. Now, there is a lot of taunt, so maybe you're just kind of trying to, between kill commands and explosive traps and hero powers, and maybe an Arcane Shot here or there, just kind of try going for face damage, which of course something like Ferocious Howl makes a lot harder. On the other hand, your explosive traps also kind of deal with the taunts, so maybe that's something you can try to win with, but Wall of Taunts as the face deck is just a very hard situation to face. And it seems like Ryuzak very firmly in control of the situation right now. Animal Companion being played right away. We'll see what companion we get. Misha, not what you're looking for. You're probably looking for a Huffer here. Or even a Leok with Unleash the Beast, with Unleash the Hounds, actually the best one here. Because it would also give +4 attack, split between more bodies, so you can more effectively use it. We'll see Explosive Trap, maybe expecting both Emerald Explorers to die, but we'll probably just see the Twilight Drake run into the Misha, or even just something like Twin Tyrant or Swipe. And we'll see the attack in the face. Just planning somewhat more to play more proactively, in which case the Twin Tyrant might have not been the optimal choice, although it does push more damage right now than taking the trade with the Twilight Drake. And it seems like Ryuzak has lethal here. Misdirect being a very strong secret to prevent that lethal. And Timberwolf Unleash the Hounds, of course, also being able to deal with some stuff on the board. He can, if he kill commands the Twilight Drake, deal with everything but the Twin Tyrant. He can also put up Misdirect instead, push some extra damage to face with both the Hound and the Hero Power. I don't think you go for more Hounds here. As a matter of fact, if you were to go for more Hounds, you should have done it before the trade to get one more Hound, so that's a straight up misplay. Yes, exactly. I don't agree with it very strongly either way, but this way it's definitely wrong. Yeah, you're on the rope now. You just gotta hit all of it into the face and just hope that you somehow don't die with your opponent having direct lethal. So yeah, no. That was just wrong. Probably didn't cost him the match here. He probably would have lost it either way. But that ties it up at 1 apiece. And Ryuzak now having to play Highlander Warrior or Galakrond Rogue, and we're having to play Face Hunter or Galakrond Quest Shaman. I would argue that the Shaman is probably the more solid choice here for the Nowhere against either deck. That being said, of course, I would argue it depends more on which deck you're more confident with at this point than the exact matchups, because again, it is still 2 decks you're playing against. And the next match starting up right now. We got Shaman versus Rogue. So I like the choice to go for the Shaman here. But again, at the end of the day, it depends on what you like best. And we're seeing a mediocre starting hand for Ryuzak and a very bad one for Denobar. Of course, having the quest guaranteed on 1 is just generally solidifying the hand a lot. Goes for the quest, obviously. And I guess we're going to see Feral Cat on the other side. Just some very basic turn 1 plays that you expect out of those decks. Picked up the Bone Wraith, which is not the most proactive thing right now, but it's not bad. Totemic Call played here. And Dagger probably coming out, trading into the Searing Totem. Besides actually trade the Feral Cat and hit face with a Dagger. Keeping a slightly weaker board, but pushing a little, preserving his health a little better. I mean, we're just gonna get another totem, yeah. And it's another Searing Totem. That means that he has to now either sacrifice the cat, or hit the face in, or ignore it, but that's effectively also sacrificing the cat, so he's sacrificing the cat, and we'll see a Spirit of the Shark come down. Now, deal 3 damage to a random enemy minion. That can hit stealthed minions, of course. And that was a very strong play here. I think we're still going to see the Maniac? Maybe the Bone Wraith, actually. Either one is very valid. Bone Wraith protects you better. You can play Maniac next turn, and then play the Lackey in the same turn. Faceless Corruptor is interesting. You can hit the Batrider in first, then Faceless Corruptor it, hit one of the Corruptors in... As a matter of fact, hit both Corruptors in to deal with both the actual taunt and the Reborn minion. Also, of course, slowly advancing the quest. And... yes, 2 out of 6. Both the Maniac and the Sludge Slurper are interesting choices next turn, although we probably won't see the Slurper. We probably won't see the Maniac, I meant. The Kobold Lackey, really good pickup here. perfectly clears the board and even leaves a small minion on the board. Invoking Galakrond twice is a very strong option, actually. We're gonna see the Maniac come down, somewhat surprisingly I would argue, although, because a lot of people decide to keep it for when the quest is finished, but it is still a very solid choice. Hits in there, and Titanic Lackey probably going on one of the 2/1s. Nope, it's going on the 1/1. Protecting the 2/1s a little bit. And on the other side, it looks like he's considering Kronks and Shadow Stepping it maybe. Says to go for the shield. Then also, of course, gets another Lackey. Witchy Lackey, maybe not on the shield. Some people do it, definitely. There's probably better things to put the shield on, and Mutate Drawn here goes really well on the Maniac, but goes even better arguably on the Mogu Fleshaper. Which isn't the most efficient play this turn, but it's very much possible. If you do, I would recommend Hero Powering as well. I mean, I guess I was about to say Hero Power first, but really mana efficiency wise it doesn't matter too much. Play solid fundamentals here, although the 1 extra mana doesn't help him. And now the question is he going to trade it away for the little bit of extra face damage? No, he's not. So he's probably going to mutate it into a random 10-drop. A lot of which are really good, by the way. Big Bad Archmage, who's gonna summon an Arcane Dynamo. Not the most solid thing, but Evil Miscreant Drawn, very interesting. And yeah, the Dynamo was a little unfortunate, I'd argue. But as he has just shown us, just one away from finishing that quest. After which point, of course, his Battlecry minions become a lot stronger. Seal Fate, deal 3 damage to an undamaged minion, invoke Galakrond. Not very optimal against anything here. As a 7 agent, not quite enough, and he could Shadow Step it. And I guess that's what he's gonna do, maybe hoping for that Kobold Lackey there to kind of have to not Shadow Step it. But at the end of the day, very good way to deal with an Archmage, which was gonna be a big threat. Now, Rat is a possibility. And then you can even Hero Power for your Lackey if you want that extra spell there. As a matter of fact, since you have the mana, you might as well. And after the quest finish, of course, is when the Quest Shaman becomes a lot more aggressive in what it can do. And honestly, I don't hate Lava Burst, yeah. And we'll see... Interesting choice. I don't hate Wind Fury, but you'd have to have a big minion to make it happen. Because you're not gonna Wind Fury your 3/4, very likely. But, just looking at the stuff that he has, and maybe he does actually Wind Fury the 3/4. I don't like Lava Burst this turn, but between Lava Burst and Life Drinker, you probably have a lot of damage you can push right now. And there is some big set of minions that he can come up with later. The card that was just drawn is another Eviscerate. There is... yeah, the Shield of Galakrond is a solid choice here. And then we might just see the Miscreant come down. Or we're going to see some Lackey play, which makes a lot of sense because it can take out the Dynamo. With the Kobold Lackey, that is. And of course the Taunt minion protects him a little bit, no matter what he does afterwards. I don't think we're going to see an Eviscerate on anything, but we might see the... I was wrong! Apparently Eviscerate is worth dealing it with a 1/3. Not sure how I'm supposed to feel about that, but I guess it makes sense. Corrupt Elementalist with the Hero Power maybe even would be able to definitely deal very well with the Shield of Galakrond. And would of course instantly advance the Galakrond to its final stage. Because that's just how Quest Shaman is. And there we see 4 2-1 elementals with Rush come down. And I guess we're gonna see 3 of them die. Some people would trade the Cable Rat into the Kobold here, but oh, we might actually see the Mogu hit the Kobold. That actually makes perfect sense. No, he decides to hit with a Rat, keeping the stats on the board. I think hitting with the Mogu would have been totally valid, but of course, you might also want the board space for the Dragon's Pack. And we'll see Galakrond come down for the Rogue. Drawing cards that cost 0. We all know how powerful Wanderer's Wand is. And some of the cards he draws are actually somewhat big. Nothing of this particularly crazy. The Lackey, I couldn't see. It's Kobold Lackey. And we'll see Faceless Manipulator being used, in my opinion, somewhat poorly on the Devoted Maniac. You could have used that on one of the Lackeys, which you're likely going to play anyways. So that would have been A, a bigger step up in stats, and B, not wasting that one Rush. Wasting in parentheses. Evasive Worm being a good choice here for trades. Twilight Dragon's been a good choice for stats as well. And the question is, are we going to see Praise Galakrond? We are not, because it's not having any immediate use. And we might just see Dragon's Pack coming down. We might also see another Corrupt Elementalist. It's a very strong card. So that's just going to completely clear up the entire board if he so desires. Might also go face with the one that already existed before. But we'll see. He's definitely going to trade off everything else, I would assume. Maybe... I don't agree with keeping the 2-1 alive right here, because you know your opponent's going to trade off anyways, and he might have a better way of doing it. That being said, Kronks is ready. He would be able to create a big dragon with Taunt, which I think is the best choice here. It seems like we're going to see Questing Adventurer. Doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to see Kronks, and we're seeing the Evasive Worm instead. We're going to see some trades. We might see Witchy Lackey on the Evasive Worm now that it has completed its rush. Seems like a very solid choice for that. And are we going to see some appraisal of Galakrond? Or some praising, that better said. That will be the case, because of course you want that extra proc on the Questing Adventurer there. And I think Dragon's Pack might become almost a necessity right now, although Lava Burst is also a very good way of dealing with the Adventurer. Decides to go for a Hero Power Novice Engineer route. And I think it might still be Lava Burst, which is a little awkward mana-wise. But that Adventurer is going to grow if you don't kill it right now. Which is why I disagree a little bit with the Engineer play, because I would have probably rather played Dragon's Pact, but now we'll have to see what Ryuzak can do with that opportunity. Praise Galakrond is +1 attack, so that's 9. 13 with Kronks. And that is not it. But still a lot of stats for Ryuzak, and if you're where you're gonna have to figure out a way to deal with this. And Sandstorm Elemental is definitely a good step in that direction. In combination with Troll Batrider, can deal with a lot of the stuff on the opponent's board. That being said, yeah, Dragon's Pack is nice as well. But Dragon's Pack is not enough. Yeah, now you don't have the mana left. So I assume the confusion here comes from thinking that he had one more mana because he didn't realize he was overloaded. But that definitely didn't seem like a great play. Now Kronks coming down for, I'm gonna guess, wow. That wasn't what I was thinking. I think if he had gone for +2/+2, he could have won right there. And as a matter of fact, if he had played Miscreant before attacking, he could have won with the Goblin Lackey there as well. So there's definitely a missed lethal there. But that being said, that doesn't affect the outcome of the game. I don't really see an out here. I mean, Heart plus Sentinel plus Bad Rider is pretty good, but I'm trying to see here. Yeah, it doesn't kill everything. And just by virtue of that alone, it doesn't matter what it kills, yeah. Like, even if the Miscreant would have somehow been the only thing to survive, that would have been enough. So that makes it 2-1 for Ryuzak, meaning that we now know that Ryuzak has to bring his remaining deck, that being the Highlander Warrior. Meaning, if you're the Nowhere, you know that you can bring the Quest Shaman or the Face Hunter to face, no pun intended, the Highlander Warrior. Question is, which one are you more confident with in that matchup? I personally still think that in that matchup specifically, the Shaman would be the favorite deck, but at the end of the day, the statistical numbers and the general expected playstyle of certain archetypes doesn't matter as much as your personal experience with the decks. And sometimes, especially because of how the decks are not all built exactly the same, you might be more confident with another deck, and sometimes you might not bring the obvious matchup. Also throws your opponent a little bit if you don't, but at the end of the day, you have to win with both. And it doesn't really matter in which order you bring them. So we'll see what he goes for. Ryuzak having a very simple choice, of course. Only the one deck he can bring. And we'll see the Face Hunter. As I said, it doesn't necessarily depend on what you expect to win as an outsider, but as a player with experience with a deck, you might choose a different one, or even just, you know, I have to win with both. Some people might even decide to go with what they assume to be the harder matchup first, full well knowing that they have to win with both anyways. And knowing Scion, knowing Denower, we're gonna see the Toxic Reinforcements first, and coining out the Tracking second. Because that's exactly what he did last time. Let's go for the Leper Gnome. Ryuzak having the option to actually play his Zephrys on turn 1. We've seen people do it in the last Trash Bowl, and honestly, it's not that bad. It depends a little bit on what you were expecting out of it. And we're seeing Phase Stalker being played here. Deciding to go for the stats rather than immediate impact. We might just see Snip Snap coming down as a counter, just to have something on the board. Zephrys is a little awkward this turn. It would have been better last turn if you were going to play it early, because then you get a guaranteed 3-drop. And I guess we're going to see one of the 1-drops coming down, and Hero Power. And it appears he's going for the Battle Mage for the direct stats. Makes sense. You can still get your Leopard Gnomes down later. The secret is Explosive Trap. So nothing that's going to be hugely impactful right now. Molten Breath. This looks like a really solid option here. Deals with the biggest threat, gives you some extra armor. And if you're Nowhere, maybe just go Snake Trap Hero Power, but he decides to go Tracking. And finds 3 really good cards. And now is the question, which one are you going to go with? The bow, the question is how many hits do you expect to get out of it? For the Animal Companion, it really depends mostly on which companion. Hero Power progresses the quest a little further, Leper Gnome being played. So he decides that the virtually guaranteed 6 plus points of damage, honestly, from the Toxic Reinforcements is stronger than the 3+ you expect out of the bow, or the 4-ish that you expect out of the Animal Companion. You want to see the Explosive Trap being triggered right now. Very good way to deal with the taunt as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw the new quest come down and then the Snake Trap, and seeing some trading for the taunt there. There is an argument to be made that if you play Snake Trap you leave the taunt, but I think that's hardly relevant. I want to see the Secret and Side Quest come down. and Awaken deals very nicely with those Leopardums. Now you're gonna take some damage from them, but at the end of the day, they are gonna die eventually. So killing them early, even though it means some extra damage right now, seems like a solid choice. You get to use your face to try for another Explosive Trap. It's not Explosive Trap this time, but you don't know that. And then there is just Shield Block for some extra draw. Down to 24, but there's an Emberscale Drake drawn, so more armor. And we'll see a bow. It's probably going to be bow hero power. And this is the point where, of course, you'd rather have a secret that can actually be triggered. Bit of an unfortunate draw thereby, but if you're dealing 5 damage on a turn, it can't be that bad. Looks like we might... Looks like he was considering Snip Snap there. I personally like the Emberscale Drake plus Dragon Breeder combination. Just keeps giving you extra armor. And Explosive Trap coming down, and maybe Unleash, maybe Kill Command. If you're gonna Kill Command, I would have liked Unleash and then Kill Commanding the Emberscale Drake, because that's a lot more solid than Kill Commanding the Dragon Breeder. And we see Grom picked up. Not exactly the thing right now, but actually plays very well into Explosive Traps, as a side note. I think Emberscale Drake might be a solid option, of course, potentially Test for Secrets first. Interesting. Wants the Grom to be Explosive Trapped, but tests with the Breeder for freezing as well. So that's 15 points of damage, but that's still not quite lethal, and we know that the Hunter has the potential to push, but not that much. Gonna see Unleash, and either Kill Command or Leroy. I think Kill Command is a little more solid as a play here. Kill Commanding the Grom, leaving only the Emberscale Drake alive, and which you can kill with your face if you want to, and then you can hero power either way. That being said, Zephrys is gonna find a lethal. Either way, Zephrys lethal is unavoidable here, which would mean that Ryuzak would win with his Highlander Warrior at last, and thereby the entire matchup. First try too with a Warrior. So yeah, we're gonna see like a Fireball, yeah. Oh, Gore Howl is nice. I'm not sure right now which turn it is. Yeah, it's just perfect. Wow. Yeah. So that was that. A little more balanced than some of the other matches we've seen recently, so we always like to see some strong competition, of course. Shout out to both of the competitors for their solid performance. Give this video a like if you want to support these competitors, and leave a comment about, you know, anything relating to the video, what you thought about how they played, is there any misplays that I personally missed, and, you know, generally, comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and join the Discord server if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this, and that's it.